Mom, Dad, I just have to say, it breaks my heart watching you stress over dinner every night. This year, I don't want you doing the fridge stare down. Hot take. With the new Blue Apron, eating healthy is easy. They've got pre-made and one-pan meals with plenty of balanced nutrition. No subscription needed. You could be plating like a chef instead of negotiating with leftovers. Make it your healthy, tasty, and easy 2026 dinner resolution. Just saying.
Get 50% off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code LISTEN50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Just how criminal was United's victory at the Emirates?
Well, there is a school of thought, which is totally understandable, that was a massive robbery. But the flip side of that is Arsenal. I mean, my goodness gracious me. So basically, United soaked up the pressure via the medium of putting all their players in the box and David De Gea being brilliant, and then hit them on the break, acting like it was 2009 all over again.
Well, yeah, it was very reminiscent of that Champions League semi-final, wasn't it? Well, at least the second half was. The first half, I'm not sure if omni-shambles is the right word for United's tactics, because that would suggest that there was a plan in the first place. I mean, explain to me the thought process behind that back three, which was utterly ridiculous for about half an hour, all over the place. How did Arsenal not score?
I mean, De Gea and Arsenal, that's the only explanation really, and the fact that they, Danny Welbeck tried to do a Dennis Law, because he's seeped in United culture, that boy, like we've always said. Not able to do it though, because lol.
Yeah, good back heel, corner flag was in danger.
It was so weird, that first half, wasn't it? Like, even by the end of that, though, we could have been 1-0 up. Like, there was a period, Di Maria sort of changed the game a bit when he did this properly electrifying run out wide on the right. And after that, United sort of woke up a bit and they were like, oh yeah, wait a minute, we can play football also, and changed their level of performance and had a good spell for 5 minutes, but that was literally it. We haven't even talked about the fact that Luke Shaw is injured, having turned his ankle. Like, he was a doubt to play, then he played, then he turned his ankle. It's really, really unfortunate, that one.
Let's get on to the downsides later. That's probably the only downside, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, I haven't enjoyed a United victory over Arsenal that much since the 8-2. I think it was almost as funny. I'm sure Wenger is absolutely steaming. He must have seen that United back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it. It was definitely back 5 by the end. If Arsenal don't score at least 3 against this mob, I need to retire.
Absolutely. I mean, you asked what Van Gaal was thinking with the back 3, and I came in 2 minutes after kick-off, and I suddenly worked out after about another 30 seconds that we were playing a back 3, and did a horrible double take, because it looked exactly every inch the back 3 that characterised our season before we switched to the back 4. Just absolutely appalling, and not knowing what they're doing when it comes to getting the ball out of defence. Actually, it's pretty clear that the plan was just soak up Arsenal pressure. I mean, Rooney said so in his post-match interview. He said, play 3 at the back, really deep, soak up pressure and hit them on the counter-attack. Can't argue in the end with results. You can argue that we pushed our luck, and I can't help but wondering what kind of game we'd have given them. I mean, it's brilliant that we've got the win, and it's hilarious, of course, as well. But I can't help wondering what kind of game we would have given them with a diamond midfield with Herrera on the right and Di Maria on the left.
Yeah. Well, look, it was Holland in the World Cup. Absolutely the tactics, and this is Van Gaal in crisis mode. So many defenders out. He's just trying to get through a game, and that was exactly it. But it was a complete shambles in the first half, and you have to feel very lucky to get away with it. But second half, all praise, right? Kept very compact, 5 strung out there. Kept it very narrow. Rooney, Di Maria, Fellaini, Carrick all sitting in front and then trying to break. And, in the last 20 minutes, it broke very successfully, of course. But so, of course, absolutely understand where he's coming from. Somehow, the translation of whatever they'd planned during the week didn't work out in the first half. He sorted it at half-time, though, because United were much, much safer at the back. And in the end, it's funny because Arsenal had so much of the possession. They had so many shots, and United didn't have a shot on target, as I said in the intro, until well into the game. Ended up with 2. There was that Fellaini shot right at the end. 2 shots on target for the whole game. 1-0 up for a long time with no shots on target, which was pretty impressive. That would have been a pub quiz question, wouldn't it? But so it's very amusing. But and you got a victory and into the top 4. Still haven't played that well this season. You're just waiting for it to all kick off.
There's definitely positives to take out of that game, because that is an absolutely massive victory. Imagine if we'd played like that, lost, and we're now 6 points behind Arsenal or whatever it is. As it is, we're in the blooming top 4. It's incredible considering how poorly we've played. But there were also genuine positives within the performance.
Yeah,
it's kind of easy to be blinded by how shocking the first half was. But if you took the second half in isolation, there was some brilliant performance. I think Wayne Rooney was outstanding in the second half of that game. I thought that was a captain's performance. He took his one-on-one absolutely brilliantly. He worked tirelessly, but in a really intelligent way. He kept his head very, very admirably, did a lot of really efficient dealing with situations when there were flashpoints. So, that's quite something.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, probably Rooney's best performance of the season.
Definitely.
Just one comedy moment when Di Maria is on the break and Rooney basically robs the ball off him and slows everything down, which was just a little bit odd. But no, excellent performance from Rooney. Actually, aside from De Gea, of course, was outstanding, but he always is. The 3 best players for United were the 3 that we've probably ridiculed the most in recent times: Rooney, Fellaini and Smalling.
Yeah.
So credit where it's due, right? I mean, Smalling at last-ditch tackle in the second half, outstanding on Danny Welbeck, and I think all 3 of them were very good.
Yeah, and actually maybe even 4th spot going to Ashley Young to just complete the Rankcast Ridicule League. I thought he did really well, actually. He came on to replace Luke Shaw in his favoured left wing back position.
Not having that. No, I don't care. Whatever Young does, I feel like sticking the gun to my head.
Oh, he was. I mean, feels really harsh to me. I thought he played excellently and deserved some credit. Di Maria had some brilliant flashes, and he really did play the Robben role, not in the number 10 sense, but in the supplementary striker sense. I mean, there were times when we were playing with 3 up front, with Rooney behind Di Maria and Van Persie, and times when we were playing 3 up front with one of them through the middle and Van Persie and Di Maria on either flank with Rooney through the middle.
If you ever needed to underline the fact that Van Gaal does not think Rooney is a number 9, it's that, right?
Yeah.
Pushing Di Maria ahead of him. And look, he had a very good game, Di Maria. I don't think he's as effective in that role at all, but it was just part of the tactical system today. I can't imagine he's going to play right up top too often this season, but he did all right.
Yeah, and of course he missed a really cracking chance, and then when Giroud scored, that was nervous, but as somebody pointed out on Twitter, that had to happen because it's part of the Arsenal narrative. But yeah, it was a shame, but it would have been even funnier if we'd won that game 3-0, but 2-1's funny enough. We can't be too greedy. I thought that Blackett and McNair both did very well under very difficult circumstances. Blackett's distribution was all over the place, which was problematic. I thought Carrick actually did quite well in the second half. I thought he had a pretty poor first half, but he was very effective in the second half, certainly made a number of key interceptions, as you would imagine. And Fellaini, his performance... You said on last week's show, quite rightly, this was the type of game that causes him a lot of problems, the ball moving quickly around him in midfield, and that was very much the case in the first half. But in the second half, he was everywhere. He was a genuine physical presence in United's midfield.
He was, yeah. He was very dynamic. He was pushing forward. Passing was good. He even felt like he was quick at times, which, is a bit odd, but yeah, very, very good game from him, especially in the second half. Many United players as such. Well, one player who didn't have a good game, not even nearly, was Robin van Persie. And talk about a pattern. I think at one point I tweeted that the penalty spot had more movement, which is very true. He's so static. There's something not right.
Yeah, at the moment there's really nothing right. No attempts on goal It's just like a big list of zeros. 2 out of his 3 attempted passes were successful for a pass completion of 67%. That's 2 out of his 3 attempted passes. He received the ball 5 times in that game. And that's not because his teammates weren't finding him. That's because he was nowhere to be found. There's a little mitigation in the fact that he was playing wide right for some of the game, but nowhere near enough mitigation for that kind of performance. And there was talk this week, there was a bunch of newspaper articles doing the rounds saying that Van Persie has got a £10 million loyalty bonus in his contract if he reaches the end of it, and because of that, United are definitely planning to sell him in the summer. And I can't imagine at the moment that anybody is particularly upset about the prospect of Van Persie going. Thanks for that 20th title, Robin. It was absolutely amazing. I've very much enjoyed you at United, and I'll always remember you fondly, but cheerio, old chap, unless you can find some form.
Exactly. When's the last time Robin Van Persie had a good game for United? It wasn't last season, was it? Maybe the narrative has caught up with me, but I don't remember one last season. Definitely not this season.
Olympiacos, he scored a hat-trick at home against Olympiacos.
And he was still terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Before that, his last good game, I think the last genuinely really good game from Van Persie was that Aston Villa game where we won the league.
Nice, 18 months ago. Yeah, it's worrying. I mean, right now, you sell Van Persie for not very much, if that £10 million clause thing is true, and just take the hit, because that would certainly make him a very expensive purchase, wouldn't it? One season wonder or what? Yeah,
you can't put a price on the fact that Fergie won the league in his last season. No, it's like, this is my rationale about this. Berbatov was worth £30 million because of that hat-trick against Liverpool. 10 million a goal. And then we're also like, maybe we also include that time he scored that goal against Blackburn. Do you remember the one where he started in his own left-back position or whatever?
Yeah.
But yeah, that justifies Berbatov's price for me, and seeing that, basically that time when he ran up to Fergie on the touchline and hugged him, that justified Van Persie's price tag.
Well, yeah, quite. I mean, fine. People made the same argument about Michael Owen, didn't they? He spent 3 years stealing Manchester United's money, but he scored that 96th minute winner against Manchester City and all that. So
Anderson, of course, the king of all this, 1 penalty in Moscow.
Yeah, that's right.
One really good performance against Arsenal.
8 seasons of robbery. Wow, he's still a Manchester United player. I mean, if it was a horse, you'd have shot him and sent him to the glue factory. So, he's Anderson, so you could shoot him and send him to the glue factory. But yeah, Robin Van Persie's catching up. The frustrating thing is that you're looking for an injury, you're looking for a reason why he's been so poor for so long, and you're not sure there is one, right? Did he just go old overnight? Did he party so hard after that 20th title that he burned out overnight? I'm not sure what it is, but I tell you what, it's really not good. And a lot of people were frustrated that James Wilson hadn't come on much earlier for Robin Van Persie. Well, on form, Wilson's got to start next week against Hull, hasn't he?
I think so. I was also frustrated that Herrera or Mata didn't come on for Van Persie and switch up the shape, because why is Herrera on the getting loaned out to Cardiff and Crystal Palace career trajectory? I don't understand what's going on. There's loads of talk about him going really soon as well, which seems staggering to me, because apart from the game against West Brom when he was clearly injured, he's not had a bad game for United, has he?
No, he was very good until the injury. Look, he's not going to be the next Zinedine Zidane, but he's a very effective player. He's busy, he's an all-rounder, he's aggressive, he passes the ball very neatly. He seems like a very good player for United, potentially, and I'd like to see him stay in the squad. So I'd be really surprised if United try and ship him out after only 6 months at the club. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Maybe he insulted Van Gaal's mother or something. Maybe it's just as simple as he got injured, Fellaini's come in, had a few good games, and he can't get back into the side.
I think that's what it is, and I think today it was very tactical. And if you think about the games that he's missed, Chelsea, City, Arsenal, these are all the games where you can see the logic, where Van Gaal goes, I want a big lad in there to kick him about the place a bit. Jack Wilshere probably should have been sent off for trying to headbutt Marouane Fellaini's chin. A very amusingly mismatched size battle there.
Yeah, he'd have been better doing a Zidane, wouldn't he, and headbutting his chest. Yes, it was I mean, Fellaini just looked a little bemused. What's going on here? Yeah.
He's like, no, that's not what you do. And he just points to his elbow and goes, look, this is what you use.
Well, quite, yeah. Fellaini, as you say, 95% elbow, 5% hair.
But yeah, I mean, and 100% awesome performance. Well, maybe not 100%, 80% let's give him. There were a ton of weird positives to take from that game where we were, as you say, whatever the level below omni-shambles is in the first half. And, this is not the other football teams cast, as we often say, but what on earth is going on at Arsenal? Because how they didn't win that game, or at least go ahead in the first half and make things difficult for her.
Well, quite, yeah. So look, you can feel some sympathy for Wenger because he's had some injuries in defence. Fine. Look what's happened at Old Trafford, mate. So yes, of course you can, and it doesn't look good, that back four. But he spent a ton of money on Sanchez and Welbeck this summer, after spending a ton of money last summer. So the old excuse about Arsenal paying for their stadium and not spending doesn't ring true anymore. So 10 years, one trophy, it's not a very good record, isn't it? And you begin to think that with Arsenal now wealthy, Wenger should be pulling together a title challenging side. They're absolutely nowhere near it. I mean, they will probably pull off a miracle fourth place spot. I don't know. They'll have to win 27-0 on the final day, and the opposition will come down with a bowler or something. But it always happens. But it's looking very like Wenger's past his sell-by date, and he should probably go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that definitely seems to be the case. I thought Oxlade-Chamberlain was a pretty bright spark for them for a lot of that first half, and at some point he just ran out of steam / gave up, because every time he put the ball into the middle, someone did something terrible with it. Not that often was it Danny Welbeck, as my fully paid up membership of the Danny Welbeck Apologist Society requires me to say. But yeah, they were just laughable. I mean, you cannot blame that loss on their lack of a back four either, because their front, whatever the number is, 7, should have definitely done well. No, it's front 6, isn't it? Because it's a goalkeeper.
Yeah, well done. Arsenal played 12 players today. Yeah, good stuff.
Bad maths. But anyway, the rest of their lads should have done more than they did. A lot of it was actually also down to United. Like United, in the first half, De Gea was really good, and in the second half, last ditch challenge after last ditch challenge. Really, really, really good stuff, that aspect of it. And, what do you think? Are you leaning towards turning point in the season, or just Arsenal are so bad we kind of papered over the cracks a bit?
Look, I don't think United are going to suddenly turn round and string 10 victories together. I'd be really surprised. This is a United side that's not quite functioning at the moment, and I don't think it helps that there's a new tactical system every single week. I mean, Van Gaal said it himself, and then he turns out a new tactical system. So there's being opportunistic and changing your tactics for the game, and that's fine. He's scored a victory today, so all praise, and it's impossible to criticise him for it. But United will play a different system next week at home to Hull, for sure. And it's almost every week changing the system. This season, there's 3-4-1-2, there's 4-3-3, there's 4-4-2, there's a 4-4-2 diamond, there's 4-2-3-1, there's 1-2-3-6-9-7. It's like an episode of Sesame Street, and it can't seriously be like this for the rest of the season and expect there not to be inconsistency. So if United really want to make sure that fourth or better is definitely where it is at the end of the season, I think there's going to have to be some consistency. The mitigation, of course, is that ton of injuries. Another one today with Luke Shaw, as you mentioned. It doesn't help. That's 40. I'm sure Gary Neville stole that from United Rant, since I'd counted it up. I'm sure it must have done. Who else counted? But he's not helped by that, but he's playing a different system every week, and I think that's a different thing from different personnel every week.
Yeah, and there's lots of people saying, so what's Van Gaal's philosophy? And I think it's pretty clear that flexibility is a part of his philosophy. This is, a philosophy isn't, I'm not saying you're saying this, obviously, but a philosophy is not a formation. A philosophy is an overarching approach to football. And I do agree that it's hard to pin down exactly what that is, but I'm not ready to start calling Van Gaal a charlatan yet, given his trophy cabinet. It's definitely that the bedding in process is complicated for him. Did you see his reaction? There was a little interview that he did with MUTV this week, and he was asked about his nomination for Coach of the Year, and he said, "This is incredible, given my results of Manchester United, that I should be nominated for Coach of the Year." So he's quite self-depreciating about it, and I was thinking about this a lot during the first half when it was so abysmal, and it's like, why don't I feel about Van Gaal when it's just going so terribly the way I felt about Moyes last season? And it remains because there appears to be hope. There appears to be some sort of even the fact that he keeps changing the system, which isn't working. It's that thing of like, at least he's got an open mind to the way that football can work, Anyway, he needs to settle on a fundamental system, right?
It's on faith still. I mean, at this point last year, of course, Moyes had more points than Van Gaal. Completely irrelevant, I know. Completely irrelevant. So United higher in the table than United were at this time last season. But it's not been a great start to the season. Let's not pretend otherwise. There is no consistency from the team. The defence has gone from shambles to secure to shambles again. The attack has gone from blistering to impotent to blistering again. I mean, so I don't know how long it takes to build a side, but it's taking Van Gaal some time, and there are managers who've certainly gone from less to more in a quicker period of time. So he's famous for giving his players an awful lot of information. It's taking the players a little bit of time, and we're still believing in him based on that record. Of course, it's a record that reads 0 trophies since he went from Dutch philosophical tactician, wouldn't bend away from 4-3-3 to playing whatever's going to win, Mourinho-esque the next day.
This is not true, because actually he switched his system at AZ. He went to a 4-4-2. He switched his system again at Bayern Munich, played a 4-2-3-1, was criticised for not being flexible enough there in terms of like moving away from the 4-3-3. So
yes, but they've all been attacking sides until last summer.
Yeah, they have. And actually, United have been were attacking for a lot of this season too. They just, I think you can definitely read it that he's had a defensive injury crisis and focused on tightening up the system because he hasn't got the personnel to rely on to play attacking football in terms of the defensive side of things. Because what you need is outstanding individuals when you do that, and he hasn't had that, so he's tightened up the system.
So look, we're getting towards halfway through the season. Not quite. What is it? 12 games in. Something like that? 12
games exactly, yeah.
There you go. So we've got 6 until Christmas, and that's a good point to start asking where United are going. Of course, he needs some players back. He needs players not get injured again. Luckily, Carrick, Di Maria and David De Gea came through the international break with minor knocks, but nothing too serious. It looks like Daley Blint's out for a few weeks. At least it's weeks, not months. What are we sure? I've heard 10 days, 10 weeks, and 10 months.
So what Van Gaal said was, I can't say it'll be 3 or 4 weeks. I can't even say it'll be 10 or 12 weeks. I can say it won't be 6 months. So I don't think that sounds like a few weeks. I think that sounds like, 3 months, 4 months sort of thing.
Yeah. You're just speculating like everyone else. So.
I am, but
he has a scan next week, so the MRI is done, and then we'll have a much better idea. Until then, he's got a brace on his knee, and he's just sitting there looking pretty, about as mobile as well. I'd say.
Oh, you and your Daley Blint hate, unacceptable.
Shouldn't have cracked onto my missus, should he? No, I'm kidding.
Talking of extremely pretty injured United footballers, Falcao has a new injury. No, it's the old injury. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. Manchester United Twitter account having an absolute nightmare during Van Gaal's press conference when they actually did tweet that Daley Blind would be out for 6 months, when Van Gaal had said that he wouldn't because they misheard him. And then they said that Falcao has a new injury, but what they meant was it's not his old injury. They're so like deep in the spin of not spinning that he's got a knee problem, that they're like calling it a new injury, even though it's the same calf injury that he's been out with for quite some time. But
I know, yeah, sack the intern. Someone screwed up big time there. But yes, United desperate to keep saying it's not a knee injury. It's really, really odd, this one. I suppose they don't want to look like fools since they're spending, £16 million on this 1 year loan. Doesn't look like United anywhere close to turning that into a permanent signing just yet, does it? And no surprise really, since he's played 5-6 games, not many anyway. He's scored the one goal, and we're coming up to Christmas, and it looks like he's out until early December anyway. So at some point you'll ask the question whether Falcao's worth it. Of course, a few more months and get him fit, and then we can really make a judgment. When he is fit, he's definitely in the side ahead of Van Persie, though.
I mean, he's definitely in the side ahead of all the other footballers. That's the thing about Falcao. I was doing an article for Bleacher Report this week about him, which led me to look back on his last couple of seasons. And, before that knee injury, there's no way we'd have got him if he hadn't got that knee injury, because he'd have gone to the World Cup, scored hatfuls, and Madrid would have bought him as a World Cup superstar. That is the only reason he's ended up with us. I'm confident of that, because the season before last, he was just, he's jaw-dropping how good Falcao is when he's on form. So that's exciting to think that is still to come this season, and there's every chance it is, I think.
Yeah.
It's just it'll be later in the season rather than earlier. So the whole game, and we'll do a preview later, but just before we get into that, you'd start Wilson, right?
It's hard to make the argument for Van Persie playing, right? I wonder whether in his newly found purple patch, Wayne Rooney ought not to play at number 9, and we can bring Herrera back into the side. I wonder whether that might create some fluidity in the attack, but it really depends on the system, of course. Wilson, loved him at reserve level, his pace, his kind of maturity in terms of how he plays the game. I think you saw some of that late in the game as well. He plays the right pass at the right time, as well as having great pace and a great finisher. Who knows whether he's really ready to be United's main striker? I don't know, but Van Persie in this form, I'm not sure it's worth playing him.
No, absolutely. The game he's just had, that's the worst game he's ever had. That might be the worst game of his entire career. If you look at, statistically, I would be willing to bet any amount of money if I was a gambling person that is the worst game of his career, because he did absolutely nothing of note all the way through the game, and he can't have had too many games where he's received the ball 5 times and successfully completed 2 out of his 3 attempted passes, can he?
No, talk about peripheral. You might even be better off with 10 men. Bit more space to play in.
Yeah, lots of interesting comments from Van Gaal about Di Maria and the lack of space he's had to play in. He had plenty of space to run into in that game, and certainly made some good use of it, didn't he? Yep,
he certainly did. Just the one miss where he chipped it wide, and you'd think he'd have more confidence, actually. That was a player that didn't look super confident at that instant. So I think he's good enough to go around the keeper at that point, especially since it was the newly substituted keeper, wasn't it? But, it was a better performance from Di Maria than we'd seen in the last 3 matches, at least. So let's hope there's more of that. He ought to get plenty of opportunities against Hull, which is coming up next weekend.
Yeah, and before we get into a preview of that, we did a Rankcast competition last week, but I think probably slightly influenced by Ed's entirely incorrect speculation, we had not a single right answer. And this is statistically improbable, but nobody got either the top or bottom tipper. So we're going to roll the contest over for another week, give you another chance to win. All the entries are scrapped, so you can enter again if you want to. Use the hashtag Rankcast and at me, at UTD Rankcast on Twitter, or send us an email to cast@unitedrant.co.uk to win a meal for 2 plus fizz at a new restaurant in Chorlton called the Cellar Key. Plenty of entries, just no correct one, so you have another go. The question is, on 100, but this is the proprietor of the Cellar Key set this question. I would have no inside information on this subject. But on £100 bill, out of the time he's worked as a waiter, he's served plenty of people connected to United. And out of £100 bill, who was the highest tipper, tipping 50 quid, and who was the lowest tipper, tipping 5 quid on a bill of £100? And that's out of, you've got to pick from Van Persie, Evra, David Gill, I called him David Gill last week. I did that last week as well. That's because David De Gea.
David Gill.
David Hill.
Really, let's get this right. David Hill.
Yeah, Wayne Rooney, and I can't remember the other one, so you know it wasn't them. So out of those four, who tipped the most and who tipped the least? And Edward's bold proclamation that Patrice Evra had tipped the most turned out not to be correct. Get your answer in before the kick-off of the whole game. And on the subject of you, the lovely listener, we're going to do some Rantcast questions now. At DG Ched says, can it be feature length? #Rantcast. This was because I put out the call for questions immediately at full time in the Arsenal game, leading to much ridiculous hilarity. At Paul Gunning 1 saying, is Arsene Wenger the best manager we've ever had?
Well, he's got a cracking record.
Yes, we get a lot of wins. That's I can't remember what the stats are, but that's another 3 points. So I think we're up 23-5 in the last 11.
Well, it's an interesting observation, isn't it? So post Fergie's retirement, every and their dog thinks they can beat United, and most of them have, except for Arsenal, who still have an inferiority complex. Interesting.
At John Blaze says, Rooney, is he good again? And we talked a bit about Rooney during the game. He had a very good game for England.
Two very good games.
And two very good games for England and a very good game for United. And lovely to see Wayne Rooney hit some form, because this is what he does, right? He gets into form and then plays well for a bit.
That's very true, yeah. He has 4 goals for United this season. So, let's tone it down a bit, lads. Come on.
On the other hand, he has 500 absolute shellackings off the Rantcast, so we should probably give him some credit where it's due.
He's been very good for 3 games. I will say that. Absolutely.
At Eddie Rose 13 says, can we be sure it is an RVP who keeps injuring Falcao?
Might be. It's the only way he's getting in the side. Who knows? Is this a Tonya Harding moment?
At Big Shimmery Wall says, who's the better lucky charm, Paddy McNair or Fabian Barthez's head? I think it's Paddy McNair, isn't it?
Maybe he's just a good player.
Ah, yes. Not a question, says at Sean KDLA, but ha 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 football. Yeah, I could not agree more. At Ritesh _R_Singh saying, this had to be the funnier than the 8-2. Do you agree? I wonder whether it's just that it's fresher in our minds, because that 8-2 was hilarious.
It really was, yeah. I mean, this was amusing, but I don't think it's as amusing as that. What is amusing, though, is my Twitter timeline at the moment. So at one point during the match, I said, if United win this, me. It was an exclamation, not a request. Thank you, people.
At Gareth Bale 22 says, you find De Gea in your kitchen, in his boxers, eating the last of your cornflakes. Do you let him stay? Why wouldn't I? Just have a lovely chat with him.
Not them, my crunchy nuts. And that's not related to the last item.
That's very good. Very good. Well done. At Maz_man_United saying, am I allowed to be optimistic now? I actually think that is a genuinely interesting question.
Boo, down with this sort of thing. Yeah, well, maybe.
I have to say, there was a period 20 minutes into that game where I was very, very short on optimism. Having done all the, looking at all the stats and stuff about the Arsenal game and seeing Arsenal's performances against Swansea and Anderlecht, I've spent all week thinking, I think even though we're completely rubbish, Arsenal are more rubbish than us. And in the end, that did turn out to be the case, because we sort of switched off our rubbishness a bit in the second half. There's a take on the rest of this season that looks good. Falcao comes back, starts firing. We drop Van Persie. Herrera comes back into the side. We start to look more fluid again. Mata maybe plays and finds some form. All those things.
There's another one that says when Falcao gets fit, his leg drops off. I don't mean an injury. I mean actually falls off. There you go. I'm predicting that.
Andy Yax says, has any Premier League team in history had their best defensive performance from a fifth-choice winger?
Well, yeah. No, it's an interesting one, yeah. A great quote from Louis van Gaal after the game. I'm absolutely convinced that I made the right decision in picking the 3-5-2. I think it's a quality decision by me. May even have been a quality decision to bring Ashley Young on at left wing back.
I love Van Gaal so much. At Jack Hawkins 23 says, I don't even know what to ask, I'm so happy. Should McNair and Blackett retain their places over a fit Jones and Evans? Very difficult for Jones and Evans. I don't see why you don't.
It's a hypothetical, because Jones and Evans are never fit.
Earlier in the season when McNair played well, and I thought, well, that's great. We give him that game and he can go off and do some more work and then come back, in a few years. But is it not fair to say Paddy McNair's been our best defender this season?
Well, was he played 4 or 5 games? Maybe not even that many. I mean, he's been very, very good every time. Look, I'd like to see those guys play in a system that's the same every week, just so it's easier on them. I think switching between a 4 and a 3 at the back all the time is not helpful for them. Definitely not helpful. And switching in and out of the side all the time is not helpful either. So neither has actually been injured, Blackett and McNair, but they've been dropping in and out of the side all the time. So I don't think that's too helpful for them either. Pick him or don't pick him. But Blackett, not so great in the first half, regained some composure in the second half today. McNair has been consistently excellent. And I tell you what, now, I watch a fair bit of academy and reserve football. Not everything. There are people who are definitely more obsessed than me, but I'm not sure I could have picked those two out as definite United quality. You can say that now. They definitely have the potential. That's for sure.
And this is why Van Gaal over Moyes every day and twice on Sunday, because Moyes would not have done that.
David Moyes, who has his first Real Sociedad game this weekend, said they'll try and win.
Good lads.
I'm not kidding either, he really did.
Yep, bless him. At ADZ Button says, are you glad that Welbeck didn't score against us, and can you please sing the McNair song? Yes and yes. This was from MUTV, so I can't claim credit for it, but I quite like the idea of a chant that goes, he's coming up, he's coming up, he's coming up, McNair. Sort of works. Ed doesn't agree that it works. You can tell by his eerie silence.
Yeah, look, this isn't the music cast, all right? We've had enough of that. We're moving on to football now.
I mean, seriously, though, we get far less comments after the show about the content that we discuss football-wise and far more about the play-out track.
We're playing the Teletubbies theme tune every single week from now on.
Massive shout-out to @Darren Richmond, who bought the Taylor Swift album, I'm pretty sure because of us.
Did you really need to broadcast that to the world, Paul? I mean, really, it's probably his guilty pleasure. Let him enjoy it. Don't tell everyone.
All right, yeah, sorry. At J. McCowan Esquire.
Mind you, I know Miss Rant doesn't listen to this, so I can tell you she's got a very nice Christmas present.
Has she? What is it?
She has. She will be going to see Miss Swift, given that she's a big fan, in Londinium next summer.
How exciting. Are you going to go with her?
Well, I'm not sure about that. It's not really my bag. Maybe.
Should we? That'd be an amazing Rantcast question prize. Take Ed's wife to Taylor Swift concert.
Nice.
Yeah. At Tony Kears says, when do we get our team back? This is the big question that we don't know the answer to, but I feel like maybe one day is my current answer. At Alibab77, last Twitter question of the week, says, each of you come up with 10 rhymes for McNair, but not Dare, Mare, Care and Ballyclare, which drew to mind for me the Lauryn Hill thing that goes, au contraire, mon frère, don't you even go there, me without a mic is like a beat without a snare, which isn't quite 10, but I think that'll do, won't it?
Yeah.
So, let's preview the whole game. Brucey's coming to town.
Woohoo! Another man who likes a 3-5-2 and a 4-4-2 and a 4-4-3 and a 4-8-1 or whatever it'll be. Yes, Brucey is coming to town. They are playing on Sunday, aren't they, Hull? So we don't know their weekend result, but they did lose at Burnley last weekend. So,
so they are the worst team in human history.
Well, not quite, but near enough to it. So interesting, Hull. I mean, they are not going to go down this season. Bruce has them as a very organised side, as always. They do play with different systems. They've mostly been playing 3 at the back for the last 2 years or so now, and it works for them, And the old flame-haired United player Paul McShane still doing it for Hull in there, and they've got a combative midfield, Livermore and Huddleston, who give them a platform, and they go out and get some results.
Sort of, because all that is true in theory.
At Burnley.
Yeah, actually, this season Hull have really underperformed to expectation. I think everyone at the end of the transfer window was saying, "Oh, who's had a really good transfer window? Steve Bruce and Hull." Pretty sure I may have said exactly that on this very podcast. But they've lost to Villa this season. They've lost to Burnley. They lost to West Brom. That's not quite so bad.
They're one loss away from the relegation zone, of course, or in fact bottom.
Well, they're 1 point away from it, yeah.
Yeah, I think they have enough to stay up. I'd be
I
really
agree.
surprised if they go down.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also be very surprised if they go down. But they're definitely struggling, and anything less than 3 points against them is genuinely disastrous at this point in the season, especially we've finally dragged some momentum into the side, kicking and screaming. Because if we beat them, that'll be 9 points from 9, and that's really, really significant given how few points everyone's got in the Premier League so far.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Chelsea sucking up 95% of the points, the entire points. They're like some dark mass in the universe, sucking all the light out of the Premier League. So yeah, no one has any points apart from Chelsea. So United, in fact, are at, only 9 points off the relegation zone. So, yeah, still could go wrong, lads.
Yeah, I reckon we're a shoo-in to get to 40. So, I guess there's next to no way we're going to be playing 3 at the back against Hull, whoever's fit or not. It'll be another system.
No, I mean, Hull will play 1 up front, I'm sure, or something that looks like 1 up front. I mean, they do play 3 at the back, so it's a 3-5-2 normally. They'll I'm sure, split the strikers. And, it could be 3 defenders marking 1 player there, which it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm sure they go to 4 United, and we'll see what formation within the 4 it is. I would presume a lot of attacking players.
If Herrera doesn't get back for this one, we start to ask really, really serious questions, I think, assuming he's not injured. It'll be interesting to see if we get any players back from injury. It doesn't seem like anyone is just on the verge of injury. I'm going to this game, so I was desperately hoping Falcao would be back because watching him is such a joy.
No, it doesn't look like... Rafael's the closest, I think, and Falcao is starting training on Monday, but... he won't be ready then. Phil Jones and Johnny Evans still not ready.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so we're going to have a very similar bunch of players to pick from. But as you say, it's probably going to be a more attacking slant. I'm going to guess a starting 11, I reckon. Let's assume Raphael's back. We go Dave, Raphael, Smalling and McNair. Blackett at left back, maybe. That's not impossible, is it? Although Van Gaal hasn't actually played Blackett at left back yet this season.
No, he hasn't. He likes the left foot, right foot, so it might well be Smalling and Blackett.
Yeah.
And then Ashley Young at left back.
Yes! Get in, Ash.
Reece James fit now?
I don't know. I've no idea.
He might be. He again hasn't played at left back, only in the 3-5-2 system. Yeah, interesting choice. Yeah, Blackett certainly can play left back. He's perfectly comfortable there.
And then I would really like to see the diamond of Carrick holding Di Maria on one side, Herrera on the other side, and Mata ahead of them, and Wilson and Rooney up front. That sounds like a winning selection to me.
Yeah, very good. I mean, I'd throw a load of attacking players in there and just expect United to take the game to Hull. Very different game from the one in North London. United have got Hull, then Stoke, but then there's some games coming up after that that's interesting. Away at Southampton and home to Liverpool. So, we could pick up some massive momentum. 2 victories in the next week. That'd be 5 on the spin going into that game against Southampton, who, of course, still second as we speak. So it's, massive game, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. But, as ridiculous as this sounds, it would be nice to have got a bunch of points in the bank so we don't have to beat Southampton.
Times have changed. Times have changed.
Our times have changed. One place where times haven't changed is Wigan. I don't particularly want to get into this, but
I think we should.
We said on the podcast when the Malky Mackay thing happened, I think you said he's going to be out of football for a long time, and I said I don't think he's going to be out of football for a long time because football's full of scumbags. Tragically, this is one where I really deeply wish I had not been correct.
Yeah, football is lost, I have to say.
Dave Whelan is 77 years old, and I don't care one iota if he's 77 years old, because actually if you're 77 that means you have some understanding of what happened to Jewish people in Europe because of the attitude that they somehow are more hungry for money than other people. So Dave Whelan is a disgrace to humanity, let alone football at this point.
Yep, anti-Semite and racist, of course they're the same thing, but let's just hit him with both of them. Malky Mackay is a racist, a sexist and a homophobe. So nice full collection of isms going on here.
Amazing defence of Mackay's appointment opinion piece by a writer called Alison Rudd in The Times. which basically said, I reckon Mackay must be all right because Dave Whelan's looked him in the eye and said he's all right. And about 4 hours later, Dave Whelan gave an interview to The Guardian where he said, no, Englishman, I'm really sorry for the use of this language, by the way. This is in fact, no, I'm not even going to say what he said because words that don't need sharing.
It's the Guardian policy here, right?
But I just don't want to repeat the word because nobody's ears need to be polluted by this kind of racial language. But he used a derogatory term for Chinese people and said, find an Englishman alive that's never called a Chinese person that and I'll find you a liar or something. And said Jews are shrewd people and do chase money a bit more than everyone else. And then he said, I'm sorry if I offended anyone. I've got hundreds and hundreds of Jewish friends. And loads of people went, see, it's fine.
Yeah, and at the same time, the Wigan FC site had a picture of Dave Whelan hugging Seinfeld. That's what it was, yeah. He's got his excuses in from Sepp Blatter there because Sepp loves black people.
Yeah, absolutely. So super, super depressing and actually something we should be making a fuss about, frankly. Malky Mackay's appointment.
Well, look, we should. And look, there's a lot wrong with football and we've had a confluence of sort of three events, haven't we? You know, Ched Evans training at Sheffield United and Sheffield United's reaction to that. And they're two slightly different things. The Malky Mackay, Dave Whelan, and the England band, the risible England band.
Oh, jeez, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, in Scotland. So, you know, it might as well cover them all off. You know, Ched Evans served his sentence, so most other people are allowed to get a job. The problem is, isn't it, that he's a hero and an icon, and no one at Sheffield United, including all of the patrons and all of the fans, wanted him there. And Sheffield United's reaction is a really interesting bit, calling it mob justice. No, it was actual justice. And the fans didn't want him there. So, you know, very odd reaction from that club there. And I think a lot of credit goes to those patrons, so Charlie Webster and Jessica Ennis-Hill, who stood up and said, I'm not having this, and forced Sheffield United into reaction. Then there we got Dave Whelan, Malky Mackay. I hope that Whelan and Mackay are charged by the FA. It's the only sensible, logical thing to do. I mean, smoking gun or what, right? So they should get the same kind of punishment as other racists do. And then the England band singing anti-IRA songs, which, you know, in this context at Celtic Park, equate to anti-Catholic songs, don't they? Or anti-Irish, or both.
Yeah, I mean, the England band playing along with No Surrender to the IRA in... just, I mean, I don't know, I don't credit the England band with much intelligence because they're the England band. So, you know, that is a pretty terrible thing that's happened to football. Incidentally, they made their debut in late 1996, at which point was probably the recent high point of England's international success, and there's been a sort of downward spiral ever since. So, yeah, the England band are responsible for everything that's wrong with English football. But no, I mean, it's just stupid, and just the fact that loads of England fans were singing No Surrender to the IRA, it's like, that war was over a long time ago, and anyway, what the hell, this is football, you stupid idiots. But anyway.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. So,
should we talk about Taylor Swift again? Much nicer now.
I prefer that, to be honest. I feel like at some points, covering football, you do think, at what point do I just have to say, I dislike everything about this so much, I'm just going to stop covering it? And since I haven't reached that point yet, I've at least got to make the moral deal with myself of like, you at least got to be a voice that tries to stand up for what you believe. I mean, people can believe different things, and that's totally fine, but I've got to stand up for what I believe, right? I've got to say, I think that Wigan appointing Malky Mackay is truly disgusting. Like, I'm not saying that in an exaggerated way. I'm saying I literally felt sick when I heard about it. That's no exaggeration. My stomach turned and I thought I was going to be sick, you know. And people that think other than that, people that think differently, people that try to strive towards believing equality, you've got to speak up for it, right? Otherwise, what's the point?
No, absolutely. I think football is deeply lost until we're able to, as a community, sort this out, right? And understand. And there's a hell of a lot of people defending Malky Mackay and Dave Whelan. And
Ched Evans and Dave Whelan.
Yeah, all of it, you know. Jeez. I despise modern football's obsession with finance and money. I despise that it's now a product, not entertainment. I despise that I am a customer to be exploited, not a fan. I don't like 90% of the people involved in football and the personalities and the attitudes. And the thing that saves it for me is the game on the pitch, which sometimes brings up beautiful moments like the one this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, because ain't no comedy script right. Talk about Seinfeld. Not even Seinfeld could have scripted a more perfect farce than that one.
Brilliant stuff, yeah. Ched Evans, well, he's not going to get a game in football for a while. There you go, I've just got him a job. Maybe he needs to turn to anti-Semitism. He'd probably get himself a job.
Yeah. So, on that super depressing note, let's hope for some better cheer and some enjoyable football, because football is supposed to be a fun distraction from real life. That's supposed to be what football's for. So, let's hope for some fun distraction from real life, some magic from Angel Di Maria, a lovely performance from Juan Mata, Wayne Rooney continuing his purple patch, Paddy McNair absolutely towering in defence, and a 5-0 win for United against the Tigers.
I'd like to see all of that. Arsene Wenger this evening, head in hands, except at his press conference where he said that it was the game with the most one-way traffic he'd ever experienced in a United Arsenal fixture. No, mate, it was the second most one-way traffic. The most one-way traffic was the 2005 FA Cup final. That's sweet revenge.
That's exactly it. I was going to say, did you miss the 2005 FA Cup then, Arsene? So, I'm not actually going to predict a 3-0 win. I think we're going to beat Hull 2-0, 5-0 win, I mean, I'm not going to predict. I think we're going to beat Hull 2-0 because I can't quite see it all clicking in dramatic fashion, but I do think we'll win.
Yeah, I think there's a goal for Hull in there somewhere, so I'm going to predict a 3-1 victory for United.
Lovely, and in the meantime, if you want to get hold of me and Ed before we record a podcast after that, you can get us at UTD Rantcast for me on Twitter, at United Rant for Ed, facebook.com/United Rant, unitedrant.co.uk, and you can read my stuff on the Bleacher Report. If you want to leave us a review on iTunes, that's really helpful to us. And this is a donation-ware show, so we don't run any ads, but if you want to pay us for our time, it's unitedrant.co.uk/donate. It's totally optional, obviously, and we'll keep doing it whether you do or not. So, thank you very much for listening, and until next week, it's coming up.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.